Good. All right. Good morning. I'm Gary Graham. As Calvin said earlier, I was fortunate enough to get on Forge and Fire and win. So that sword on the back table wasn't the sword I turned in. It's the one that I've been on Sunday and had to make the sword I turned in on Sunday evening and Monday. So things got a little hectic. But my goal today is I'm going to demonstrate making twist Damascus. What I use out here is I use saw blades. We got some out here on the back of the truck for sale for my 15 and 20. It's got a 2% nickel content, so when you etch it, that's the shiny part. And then I use 1084 tool steel, like this, cut up to 4-inch bars for my tool steel part. That's the dark part. So the goal today is to tool steel, 1084. Okay. So the goal today is make a billet of twist Damascus that comes into a blade, and I'm going to try to finish a blade at the time to put it in the iron on the hat today. So you take those and pass them around. Get these over here. All right, we've had our billet soaking for about 30 minutes now. We're going to use the power hammer to set all of our welds. Then we will be grinding, angle grinding on this vise right here, throwing the sparks out away. So, but if you're in this front row, grab a set of safety glasses out of that bag. I think it's hot enough. On the initial welds, I just want to take a little bit of material at a time, squish it down. I don't want to mash it all at once because you have to increase your chance of having stress fractures and stuff throughout your steel. Is that me? Good point. I started with 19 layers. I had 9 of the 15 and 20 and 10 of the 1084 tool steel. All right, ready? Go grab that grinder. All right, so now that I'm confident I got my billet forge welded together. Where I welded my layers together, I'm going to go ahead and grind that off now so it doesn't get included into the knife blade. Got it. That's hot. All right, not yet. right, I should have all my welds or the MIG welding grounded off at this point. So we'll put her back in, and we're going to get it hot. We're going to start making it round. So we need to get ready for a twist. What? No, not until we get it twisted. All right, so while we're waiting to this thing heat up again, the layers, as we twist it, we're going to clamp one end into the vise. We'll have the twisting wrench on the top. As we twist, those end layers won't get the twist in them, so they'll be straight. So when I usually forge out a blade with the ends, a little hidden tang, so you can see the layers of that is straight. All right, as we go through this and we're waiting for it to soak, I'm trying to fill in some dead time. So I'm going to demonstrate or show some of the tools I use to help make things easier. So when I'm making hidden guards, it's really hard to hold on to a little guard and have it on the grinder trying to flatten it or shape it. So they sell these little guard holders. They got a little spring-loaded pin in them. Hold your guard, you go up there and hold it against the grinder or do whatever you need with it. Okay. All right, so this piece here, it's called a file guide. It's got carbide inserts, and I use it for setting my shoulders for my hidden tangs as well as setting my plunge lines. So I can put it right against the belt, and the carbide doesn't grind with the grinding belt. It's a valuable tool for making knives. You're always coming up with something small and awkward to hold, like a pin or a little guard or something. So I ordered a small Jacobs chuck off of Amazon for about $10 or $15. I drill a hole and epoxy the handle on it with stag, and I use that a lot for. Yeah, Al's showing off his German Soviet jeweler's vise here. I'll put that in my pocket. We'll pass this around. But just little handy tools. I don't want to show this and everybody be buying them off eBay now. This is Al's little vise. Now, when you're doing stock removal and you got a constant thickness to your steel, you really need to know where your center lines are. So I got a little center line scribe. I just basically get about midways, clamp it in my vise, and I can run my blade on this edge to mark the center line for the front or the back and the edge of the blade. The little center line scribe here. And then the last, there's a little buoy back there with an S-guard on it. Had a lot of little had file work done on all the spacers inside of the guard. And then a little hand vise like this is really handy for holding small parts for working on them. Now, when you're finishing a blade, the part I think every knife maker hates is the hand sanding. So I made this little hand sanding jig or tool. It's easy to hold my paper on. They're easy to make, but it gives you full control of what you're sanding. We hot? All right. We're getting ready to start rounding our billet up. So what I've done is my layers were laid flat. Now I've turned them at 90 degrees, and if you picture a book, you just squish the pages together. So from here we'll start rounding out into a round billet, so we twist it, And that'll prevent us from having cold shuts from the corners. Is that still hot? Can you hold it? Oh, we did a test run yesterday. So this little blade I forged out of 5160 round stock steel, just as a test run to make sure the dies and everything fit me. Forgot to show it to the camera, didn't I? Jeff, we're ready. Now I'm going on a diagonal. Get rid of those corners. All right. I get a little excited. All right, so as you can see here, I've started rounding the billet over. What that'll facilitate is us locking in that vise, be able to twist it as tight as we can get it without having the corners become cold shuts in the steel itself. Ready to twist that thing? Not yet. Need to round a little bit more. Leave it on. This thing's heating quick. Not yet. The waiting game. All right. So when you're stamping your name on your knife, if you try to freehand it, you end up with crooked stamps. A lot of times you get a double stamp. So I made this little jig to hold my maker's mark stamp. It's really helped me out a whole lot. All right, shut it off. We should be ready to twist. Yeah, 19. 19. So what we're going to do next is we'll put the billet in that post vise vertical, and then Jeff and I will twist it It'll probably take 3 or 4 heats for us to get enough twist in it where we feel comfortable the blade will look good. What happens with the blades, you twist it and it seems really tight. If we start forging it out flat, your pattern gets washed out and it becomes from a twist to just wavy lines. How's it looking? We're going to do it in 2 sections, aren't we? We do it top and bottom. We're going to do it 3 times. Hold on. All right. All right, let's go easy. Back off. Do what? Yes. I always twist it when it's extremely hot. And it's better to do multiple heats than it is to try to force a coat twist and twist your billet in half. All right. All right. Let me get that. Let me have those back. All right, something that I found that's really handy is you go to your local hardware store and get one of these little springs. You cut it the size you need. Where's that little twist blade at that's going around? Yeah, a little twist blade? Yeah, let me see that. So when you're working with trying to get all the guard material lined up, cut out the right size. This guard's not for this knife, obviously, but just to kind of demonstrate how I use it. That's probably going to be hot too. But you can put your guard material on there, tighten it up, the spring holds it in place, and then you can trace out whatever you need to put your layers or your spacers material in there. So that's a little dollar tip that is pretty handy. And like I say, it's just a spring from King's Hardware in Ardmore, but you can probably get them anywhere. Good job. I should get royalties off that advertisement, shouldn't I? Jeff, you ready? What? Wait, we don't twist her hand. All right, let's break that down. We'll heat up the other end now. With the water. Not yet. Oh, wrong way, guys. Sorry about that. So what's happening right now is the hot spot in the forge won't cover the full billet, so we're having to do the top and then we'll do the bottom, a different twist. Do I have any questions so far? If you have questions, just shout them out so I can hear you. Ah, crap. You ready? All right, I made you a flat spot in the middle. Same direction? Same direction. All right, right in here. If it starts to squeak, stop. All right, hold up. Yep. If you get close to twisting in half, you can feel your billet. It'll squeak. The next problem is twisting in half billet or a cold shut. So. What was that? Yes. We're getting down close to our final twist on this. I have to keep that together or I'll lose it. We'll throw them back in the bag. Now this is a hurry up and wait period. On the Forge and Fire show, you're sitting there and there's not a lot for you to do. Just sit there and wait. And you feel like you should be doing something because you got a clock you're fighting against. But, you know, the worst thing you do is pull that steel out when it's too cold to work with. What's all that? Oh, okay. You asked Travis to scrap metal? There may be good stuff in there. We may need that at the house. All right, Jim, you ready? All right, this will be the last twist. All right, that's good. All right, scale off this thing. All right, so what we got, I don't know how many twists that was, but it's all I felt comfortable doing without twisting it in half. So what we'll do now is we'll flux it, put it back in forge, let it soak, then we'll go to flattening it out, making our billet for our knives. Where's that flux at? All I'm using here for flux is just mule team borax. What? Yeah. And what the flux does is, as you twist it, you create them little micro gaps. And our goal is to forge one of those back together, so the flux stops the billet from oxidizing and cleans the steel, so we get a good clean weld. Yep. Still waiting just a little bit. All right. There's the back door. All right, so that's got our billet started down to about a 1/2 inch. We're going down to probably 1/4 before we start doing any kind of forging on blades. Unruly name tag. Hey, Travis, you have a fullering tool for the power hammer? A fullering tool? See one. Oh, here we go. Yeah. No, this one. I need to spread it out. All right, so right now our billet's about 1 inch by 1/2 inch. If I keep drawing it long ways, it's going to be 1 inch by 1/4 inch. So what I want to do is spread it out about 1 1/4 inches, maybe 1 1/2 inches. I'm going to use this fullering tool under the power hammer and spread that billet out and make it wider. I'm going to use the fullering tool to make my billet wider so we get a wider blade out of the knife. Get all this flat. Down here. So I had a plan when I went up to Forge and Firehouse, I want to forge out the blade. But when I'm at home, I use this hammer under my power hammer a lot. I don't like to swing a hammer when I can use a machine to help me. So I'd ask them ahead of time, is there any restrictions to using top tools on the power hammer? And all I got was no, we don't have any rules against it. But they probably do now. Because after the first 2 heats, my blade was almost done. So they didn't show any of that on the show, but I got a whole lot of, hey, Gary, stop, you're not supposed to do that. Oh, well, you know, the blade had to be between, the first blade in the first round had to be between 11 and 13 inches. I had to cut mine off twice with a chop saw because it kept growing. But, all right, on this next heat, we're going to draw out our tang for our first blade. That part of that pattern will be straight. So that as the blade I passed around earlier, this will be the equivalent of that. It's the first blade coming out of the billet that I can't get a twist on. But I asked them, I said, well, when we got there, we had to read all these rules. They had 3.5 pages of rules. I said, well, how many rules did you have in the first episode? We said, we had 3 on the first page. It took up about a paragraph. Now they got 3.5 pages, so after I left, they probably had 4 pages. All right, Jeff. All right, we're going to draw our tang out. Sweat on my eyes. All right, so what I've done is I took that very end where we had everything welded together. I forged a tang out of it. I'll go in here with another heat, kind of make it a little bit smaller. I'll cut it at an angle, and we'll be ready to forge the first blade out of this one while the billet's heating for the next one. What? Oh. I don't have it quite hot enough, so I'm going to have to put it in and get hot again. So there's some folks that make some really good tongs. Al Stevens, one of them. I got a pair of his is in there. But Tom Tongs, it's a brand from Pakistan, but they're sold by Blacksmith Depot and a bunch of other companies. They're probably the handiest tongs that I've found as far as for bladesmiths because they're an offset jaw, and you can work with your tang up, farther up the handle, or you're still farther up the handle to as you work a blade, the length of it. So. What? I think it's Blacksmith Depot. Who? I don't know, John. It's when I show up at the show and they're selling them, I buy them. Hold this thing. Get in there. I think it's a little bit thick. We ain't thin down enough, Jeff. All right, my tang's just a little bit too thick for my tongs, so I'm gonna thin it down a little bit. All right, so we're gonna start working a knife on this edge right now. Got a brush yet. Power hammer. Ready? So now I got my tongs to fit. It's really important you have your tongs fit your work. I was making a bunch of steak turners for a craft show one time, and I was in a real big rush. I was doing 12 of them at a time, and it was working me to death. So I was too lazy to go get the right tongs as my stock got smaller. Well, I was under the power hammer. That thing flipped out of the tongs. I caught it right here across this arm. There's a light scar right here. I didn't take me long to look at it, but you know, the right tongs for the right work. All right, I got a little bit of what's called a fish mouth, that lip right here, but it'll take me about 3 seconds to grind off in the grinder, so don't worry too much about that on the tip. Power hammer. Okay, what we're going to do here, you see I've got my bevel on one side. So as I start forging this edge, that bevel will turn up with this metal's displaced. So this bottom part will be my cutting edge. We'll demonstrate that in the next heat. Good mother tongs. There we are. All right, so I do cheat a little bit with the power hammer. So on this one, we're going to start about right here. All right, you see that edge? That tip's starting to swing back up where the metal's getting displaced. And I don't know if you can see it or not. If you look real close, you can see the twist pattern coming through in the blade. All right, Jeff, back on the hammer. right. The triple dice kind of got me in the middle here, but that's not a big problem. Making a sweat. All right, so that's setting the twirl on my blade. So, all right, I had to cut that little piece off where the power hammer pressed it out. So now we can get through making our edge in the next heat. Where's that curved one at? That one. All right. So we're getting close to where we're getting ready to work on our tang. So I'm going to leave it up to you all. This knife's going to go in the forge or the iron in the hat. Do you want a full tang blade or you want a hidden tang blade? Which one? Full tang? Okay. Hold on. Now let's go with that. All right, so I got to roll it. My ricasso is really sloppy right here. So I get on a good square edge. All right, so we kind of squared that up. We need to bring this tip or this edge down a little bit more. All right, a full tang knife. There. Put it in there. All right. Now let me spread up. Travis, can I use your hammer? Where's he at? Travis, can I use that? What? Yeah, it is. That's where I learned it at. Well, the wood, I use the wooden mallet. When I get down close to my final finish, before I go to the grinder, I want to get a smooth finish without any hammer marks in it. Where are the tongs at? These. Oh, there. Power hammer. All right, what we're doing now is we're stretching this tang out. Jeff, back on. All right, so that's kind of looking at our blade before it goes through the grinder. But I am going to straighten up this tang back here before we go to the grinder. That way it makes it easier all the way around. Let's switch this around. Who's asking? What? I did. Yeah. You got to wake up. Where's that thing at? Where's my fuller at? Where's the other one over there? Yeah, I need the fuller. Where's it at? All right, we're going to let this one cool, and hopefully by the time we get through forging the rest of it, this will be cool enough to grind. I need that again. Wet mine. Hammer. All right, so this is the hidden tang knife. I got a little turn at the tip. We'll straighten it out, and it'll be ready to go for grinding. Not yet. No, hammer. All right, that's our hidden tang. It's got some twist through it, but you can see up here at the tip, when we get it ground and etched, you'll be able to see that tip, that twist straightens out. All right. All right, I got enough for 2 hidden tang knives or 1 full tang knife. What do y'all want, 1.5 and If I do 2, that's more chances to win. 2? All right. Hammer. All right. All right. This heat, we're going to go ahead and cut it off. We'll forge a tang on the other end, and I'll cut it in half and forge 2 hidden tangs knives out of that piece. We got 1 hour, 50 minutes remaining. We got it done now. Yeah, we got on the show. What? The what? I did 1084, 15 and 20. So we had 10 pieces of 1084, 9 pieces of 15 and 20, which is, we use the saw blade out there in the back of the tailgate of the truck. But when I got on the show, I just do what I always do. When you forge around Doug and Jeff all the time in the shop that's got about 5 foot of room to move, you get used to dodging hot steel. And you come off the set from the forging the 3-hour part, they bring you right into an interview room and ask you a bunch of questions. And he said, how did it make you feel when you knew you had to billet forge together in the first 15 minutes? And I said, I had to forge together in 15 minutes. I wasn't even paying any attention. I was just doing what I do at home, This heat on there. Power hammer next. All right, so from here, we'll cut that billet in half. We'll forge out 2 blades from it. They should be about 3 inches long. Any questions so far? Any complaints? Gripes?
Is it hotter in here or hotter in the studio?
It's hotter here. Yeah, they said, yeah, how'd you deal with the heat in the furnace? I said, well, or in the forge. I said, if you think this is hot, you never forged in Alabama in August. Nah, I'm good. I'm going to cut it over here. So I'm going to try to cut this at an angle. It just makes it easier. A little stubborn. So there's a little bit of a controversy between knife makers. Because you got your guys that forge, your bladesmiths, and then you got your guys that stock removal. Well, I do both. And every knife you really work on, you're going to have to do them both anyway. But the advantage to forging is I can take that little piece there and forge out a 3-inch hunting knife. You can't do that with stock removal. There's not enough material there. Hammer. All right, we got a little thin on that one. We'll just take the fuller out and make it wider. One of the anvil. All right, just like before, I got my edge down on one side. I'm going to start on this bottom side, press it up. It's starting to move now. A couple more heats, we should be done. Hammer. All right, so we got our thickness, our width back up. Next, we'll go ahead and shape in the blade. Sharp corner here. All right, so what I was doing there, I got on the anvil for a sharp corner. That way I know that's where my plunge line is going to start. I'll switch, next heat I'll flip it over, do both sides. That way my plunge line should be lined up when I go to the grind. All right, so said knife's coming along. Just about the right size to carry for deer season. All right, so I'm going to get back on the sharp edge. All right, I know most of y'all know this, but steel, when it's hot, it's kind of like Play-Doh. And wherever you hit it, makes it move to where you want it to move. Sometimes I have trouble with my Play-Doh. Then we're done with it. A big hammer out. Where'd Jeff go? We're gonna mash that. It's fatter than the blade. Power hammer. All right, so that's nothing a grinder can't clean up. What? All right. I started to perspire there just a little bit. A little bit. All right. Thanks. All right, so if one of these blades is cool enough to grind, we'll start grinding on it. The question is, which one? All right, those are still a little warm. But we won't let that stop us. I need those sleeves out there. Thanks. What? No, I needed these. I need that green towel. All right, these little sleeves, as you grind, you get sparks flying, hitting you on the arms and stuff. Doesn't seem like too big of a big deal until at night when you go to bed. It's itching like you got chiggers, you know. It's little burns everywhere they hit. Nice job. All right, we're going to start by flattening the sides. To do this, it's still a little hot. I use some of these magnets that, where's Doug at? Got to promote Doug. Oh, producers got on me again. So I use these little magnets. Doug Pentecost sells over there. I think he's got a bunch with him. But they're strong enough, they hold your blade. It won't slip when you're in the grinder. And they're really good for flattening. So I usually use them on about every grit so the blade doesn't get so hot I can't hold on to it. I'm starting out with a 36 grit belt. It's a little dull from yesterday. All right, you see I kind of got the ricasso area clean. That's really what I'm worried about right now is that area. Because as long as it's flat, it's your true flat on a knife. Everything else is an angle. So, you see that? What? Oh, okay. I'm going to change belts real quick. Yeah, that 36 grit. That green one down there at the bottom. The scale on the knife blade's hard. And it wears out your belts pretty quick. A lot of people put their blades after they forge them, and it's a vinegar, let them sit overnight, and they'll eat the scale off, and then you start with fresh steel. All right, so next I profile my edge, nice rounded edge. We'll straighten up this back, and we'll probably straighten this up and then cut our ridge or what we need into at the end. Oh, it's hot. All right, I don't want to quench that water to cool it because it's still pretty hot and it could induce cracks in the blade. We'll just let it sit and cool. Almost too hot to handle. Let it cool too. Ooh, that's hot. It's a little toasty. All right, so I got this very important tool to grinding. And just a little push stick. I had a little leftover handle material. Cut a little small notch in it. It helps hold under the blade. Saves your fingers and your gloves. When I start grinding, I go on a real steep bevel. So I get what I can see as the center line. Then I roll that blade back and then cut farther down on my blade to the midway point. The belt's dull. Well, that's my little stick there. So as you can see, I'm rotating my blade back. My grind line's climbing up the blade towards the spine. This type of grind is called a full flat grind. Is what I'm doing. Oh, oh, this is just wood. Yeah, it's just a piece of leftover handle material. I think it's curly coated, to be truthful about it. That makes it worth $45, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I'm starting to wish I'd bought another belt, another 36 grit belt. Which one you want next? I want this right here. We'll go from there to the 120. I may have to go back to it. 36? Yeah, and I think this is a 50. Now, I'm only doing that because my 36 grit is wearing out. So, but the worst thing you can do is continue to try to grind with dull belts. You don't get a clean grind, everything gets wavy. You're pushing too hard on the belt and the blade, so you're overheating the blade. And when you put that pressure on that tape gap, you run the risk of it popping and breaking. And then what I've done with about every knuckle between my thumbs and my fingers is my push stick will slip or something. Yep, and you'll cut your knuckles off in these grinders. You know, that 36 grit goes through skin pretty quick. It's 50. 50? Yeah, I'm only going to the 50 because my 36 is wore out. Usually go from here to 120. Hey, Jeff, can you grab that back there? It's on that coal bag? Yeah, for this. All right, so we're almost getting to the full flat now. Too much pressure. Belt about flew off. All right, we're going to go to a 120 belt. Now guess where we're going to etch so you can see the pattern. What? Yeah, that'll be fine. What? I got some. So when I go to a finer grit belt, I do all the steps over again, but they're really fast this time. If you're having trouble, if you're grinding, a lot of times it's hard, your body casts a shadow over your work. It's hard to see your blade when you're grinding. Amazon sells these little machine lights here. Richie Crew told me about them. I had to go get one. So they were so good, I ended up having to buy 2 of them. So they're handy as they can be. And you put the light right where you need it. Excuse me. So as you're grinding your blade, wherever you put pressure at on the blade is the area you're going to grind. So if I'm trying to work my edge back up to the spine, I just put a little pressure on the spine. If I need to work on my edge up here, I put a little thumb pressure right there, and it moves my pressure point up to the edge. So I'm getting this down to about where I would heat treat the blade. I can heat treat it today, but it'll be harder for you to finish hand sanding stuff before you heat treat it. It's going to take you home. A little bit of a cold shut right there. So we're at a fish mouth. I had a little bit of a cold shut in the tip. So all I do is roll it around and get rid of that cold shut. Take that material off. Still there. Sometimes you got to readjust. All right. All right, so that cold shut went back a little bit, about a 3/8 of an inch or so. So I just shortened the tip of my blade, reprofiled it, came out fine. So what we're going to do now is when I forged it, I forged a swoop in there, for better terms. So we're going to take a wheel and clean that swoop up, and it'll be ready for etching to show you all the pattern. So you can really change the look of this knife. So that's the clip that I've ground or forged into it. But when you're on the grinder with the wheel, you can move that back some. It changes the total look of the knife, or you can just make it as short as you want. It's it just depends on what you want as the style. You got any acetone? All right, what we're doing now is we're just going to etch it in ferric chloride so you all see the pattern. Then we'll work on these other ones. So what I'm using here, it's a 50-50 mix of PCB etchant. It used to be sold at Radio Shack, but now you get it on Amazon and other places. and distilled water. You know, I just do it because when I started, somebody told me to do it. I really don't know the difference.
Distilled water doesn't have all that other crap that drinking water's got.
And look. Okay. Maybe little like squeeze clips or something. I'm going to clamp this blade on the edge of the. Here you go. I'll use this blade tip.
Yeah.
What? Actually, I may not need it. Travis, go. All right, let me step over and grab a paper towel real quick. All right, grab me one or two. Well, my mind's going all over the place. I need a spring clip to keep the thing from falling down the ferric chloride. I need a paper towel to rub the acetone on, you know. Yeah. Perfect. Up here. All right, what I'm doing here is all the times I dip it in the water and stuff over here, puts a little film on it. I think there's a little soap or laundry or soap detergent in it. So I'm just cleaning off the blade. Maybe. Normally I have rubber gloves on, but you know, it's just kind of a short exposure and what we're going to do here today. All right. So we'll let that etch and I'll work on another blade. We'll come back, get it out, and it'll be ready. All right, this was the full tang y'all wanted. We'll start with clip since we got the belt on here, the wheel already. We've got a fish mouth. Yeah. Going back to the, this one will be a 50. Just because my 36 belts are dull. I prefer a 36 grit on this one. And I'll go from a 36 to a 120. And lately, I've been using that rotary plant that Merit Braid sells. I can go from 120 to 320. All right, so I got my edge profile, my clip pointing back. All right, all I'm doing to neutralize the acid is using Windex with ammonia in it. Ammonia is the base that neutralizes the acid.
Gary, can you tell us what the active solution is?
Yes, I did. 50-50 mix of ferric chloride and distilled water. Yes. All right, so the finer you go on a grit or a finish, and after it gets a better etch, and it gets a lot darker etch after heat treat. So y'all can pass that around. Okay, so the finer grit you get your blade up to gives it a lot better etch and finish. So that's up to 120, so it looks pretty dirty. The higher you go, the better your etch is going to be, and then your etch will be darker after heat treat. I need that back over here. Ooh, got a home glove. When I start out, put a real steep, about a 45-degree bevel to my center line. Then I roll that blade back, and I work the edge of my blade up to where I've already cut. All right, so you can see here I did a real steep bevel right to my center line. And then as I roll back, that allows me to grind down to my spine, but keeping the sight. When my grind line reaches that edge, I know that I'm my full flat. I got to adjust or it's where it needed to be. So, not yet.
I am good. There's no water.
No, I got one there. Yeah, see, I got sweat spots in my glasses. I'm not used to that. Like I said, I'm slowly bringing my edge back to the spine or my bevel. So make a little headway. Yeah, yeah. No, I didn't quench for that like heat treat. Yes. That blade was none of my blades have been quenched yet. Yeah, we haven't went through a heat treat with them. I really know whoever gets them got to tell me if they want to heat treat them or not, and we'll go from there. It changes things downstream, like drilling holes through your tank. All right, so you say we went all the way to the spine for a full flat grind. When I first start, I'm supporting up, but just even pressure across the blade when I first start. Now, as I get closer to the spine, I'll need to increase pressure on the bottom to help bring that grind line up to the spine. So, like I say, if I need pressure on the edge or up in this area, I just do a little bit of pressure with my thumb. If I need it on the bottom, I push a little bit with my stick. All right, so now we got both sides ground. Got to clean up our profile. Think of what I want to do with this. What? Well, it is. That's the beauty of the new grinders, though. They're quick to change, arms. Profile the back of this blade. Is it? Yeah. Belts make a big difference on how they run. All right, so what I've done is profile the handle. Where it kind of fit my hand, hopefully it fits yours. Whoever wins it. If not, give it back to me. I'll sell it.
That's the way I make mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought about this one. 30 by 1. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go up to 220 on this. That way you see a little bit difference. The way it etches, the finer grit, the better the etch. Huh? 50 to 120. 220. Strange noise. Strange noise. I don't know if it's a belt or what.
Hard to know.
Sounds like a tape joint.
When you started this, you said you weren't using the water
You,
grinder.
yeah, but the blade has cooled down. Yeah, I didn't want to use the water on the blade after it came out of the forge because the internal temperatures are high. I was afraid of cracking it.
Yeah.
But once it's cool enough for me to hold and grind, then I dip it in the water and cool it before I'm heated up.
Okay.
If you watch the show, I ground the whole blade with welding gloves on. I wouldn't dip it in water to cool it off.
I watched the show twice, Gary. One week after the other.
That's about when I've watched it. Well, the part of the third time, because Travis had me taking a bunch of pictures.
Well, the night came on the first time I watched it, and the next week it was on again.
What? Yes. The five what? You get 4 days. Actually, 3.5. You start in the afternoon on Friday, and you got to be done in the afternoon on Monday. You do have a set time. Well, you have when you start, you have 36 hours total. So they set it up where the first day, you got a couple, at the end of each day, you do interviews, a couple hours interviews and things of that nature, question answer stuff. You do the first day, you got 6 hours on the clock. At the end of that 6 hours, they take a picture and you can't change until the next day. The 3 following days, you have 10 hours each day. Yeah. All right. We'll let that niche.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Not at all. Yeah.
Put that back in the forging fire as well. That's 5160. Where's those other 2 blades at? Yeah, probably should. You got a marker? 5160. Mississippi round bar, right? Hole in the glove. These ought to go a lot faster. Good work. Making progress. Where is it? There we go.
Yeah. Those things will do that.
What? 220. Oh, this? It's got ammonia in it. It's glass cleaner with ammonia. Ammonia is a base that neutralizes the acid. Yes. So we got it in acid. If we don't clean it off and neutralize acid, it'll rust like crazy. That came out really pretty. I don't use coffee anymore. I use phosphoric acid. Yep. And I go straight from phosphoric into the ferric chloride to get that dark look. A little nasty.
From a high. So you just use, what was that spray that you used?
It's like Windex with ammonia.
Windex with ammonia?
You got to have the ammonia.
Yeah.
At home, I just mix water and ammonia, but the ammonia is a neutralizer for the acid.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking you were doing. And it looked like Windex.
From a stick, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
pretty good. That little piece of scrap we had a while ago.
Well, the Army has a problem. There's a problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's going like
What? No. If I'm looking for a good, I knew I'm not going to do some big buoys or something. I get the Cubitron tubes in a 36 grit. They cut better and longer than any belt I found so far.
Yeah, yeah. I hate it every time they say something about this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a booster of the Navy contract. Yeah, and the gun was a booster on gun. Is it a Vulcan? Is it a Vulcan?
Right, but the 810 gun was the loser gun for that. Ooh, I would like to see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had, I was in a debrief back when I was doing auxiliary work, and it's just, you know, they were debriefing two bills. They were debriefing my auxiliary software that I had used for set station. And the big thing I was in there for was set station software. That's really, that was our money. Yeah.
What? Rick. Oh, 220. Yeah. From a stick?
He ain't got a notch.
It's a finger saver. Trying to rush this thing, guys. Trying to get it done. I got 3 hours. What?
We were sitting in there, and some young lady talking about doing some count batteries and using things up from the house to get there. And this he was an master sergeant. I mean, he had stuff all. It was just trying to say, how many soldiers do you want to kill? And he goes, oh, a lot of them. On our side. If you do that, we lose every right. That's the big thing. Yeah.
What was that?
I've never served, but I got the chance to one time, we were doing auxiliary stuff. The guy at RCC said, Right. You're not getting those very often. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wrong one.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? I'm working on it. Hey, Mac's calling my name now. All right, you remember I told you the very end of the billet when we start, you wouldn't have the twist that you would have throughout the rest of the billet. So this is that knife right here. Johnny, pass it around.
Straight.
It, yeah. And that's all I got, guys. We got one more etching. Thank you. Thanks.